All right, everyone. Welcome back to the Tennessee Brando Show. It's great to be with you. It's been a while since that we've done a evening show, and I said I was going to be doing some of those, and really glad to be back in the saddle doing it. We normally go at 12 noon Eastern time, and there's a lot of people that can make it and a lot of people that can't. And after it's all over, they're like, Brando, we wanted to see the show. And so can you do it a little bit later in the afternoon? And we got people on the West Coast and all points in between. So we just decided to do this episode, and it's a special episode. I've got some guests coming on I'm really excited to talk about. I always have a good time with them. But tomorrow we have the No Kings 2.0 protest. I was at the first one, and it was a hell of a turnout, one of the biggest ones I'd ever seen. I remember when I got there just being floored at how many people were actually out, which kind of gave me hope that people were waking up. Well, that was just a while back, and here we are. We're not even a year into this dude's second reign of terror, and we've already we're having a second protest, which is on record to be looking like it's going to be the biggest protest we've ever had in this country. And so there's a lot of questions that are being asked. A lot of people are reaching out to me, and they want to know about safety. And I always say to people, just be safe out there, take care of yourself, always protest peacefully. Because, nowadays they can absolutely just create boogeymen out of thin air, give them the name Antifa and call it an organization. And the next thing you know, they can label all of us that. So it's just, a time to be careful, but it's also a time to not forget our First Amendment right. And I met these fine folks a while back from a group called KY Resist out of Kentucky, and they have really been putting in the work. There's a conversation to be had, and we've had it here on the channel about going into other spaces. And they are in a very blood red state and a very blood red part of the world. And they've took it to small towns in Southeast Kentucky, which I've been wanting to see people do for a long time, because, a lot of times when politicians come in, they'll hit the big cities and towns, but they don't really go to the smaller cities where the people are at. And a lot of working class people are there. And I've always said this, and I predict we'll see this tomorrow. You're going to see a lot more people in those small towns than you would imagine, because more people are getting tired of this. So I got a good group coming on with me now, and I'm going to bring on Aria first. It is so good to have you back here on the show.
Yeah, good to be here. This time, I think we got less troubles from the mic.
And so, yeah.
Like you said, though, the 2.0 is going to be crazy. I believe the first one had 4 to 6 million people who showed up, and there's even more outrage now, especially with everything that's happening with ICE.
Yeah.
I think tomorrow is gonna be a good day, at least in terms of the people who show up.
Yeah, that's what I started to say a minute ago. I was like, there's so much that has happened just since the last one. There's so much more to be outraged about. But you all have been putting in the work in the in the red state. It's the state I grew up in. We was talking about that before we got on the air. I was born over here in Tennessee, but I grew up in Kentucky, and I know a whole lot of people there. Got friends and family in pretty much every corner of Southeast Kentucky. So this Saturday, you guys are going to be in London, correct?
Yes.
London, Kentucky. I love that place. I always go to the flea market down there. It's one of my favorite places.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's actually where we've had our biggest protest.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we're going to go back.
And so where and what time can people join you there this week?
I believe it is 3 to 6.
Okay.
Hold on, I might need more information on that.
Okay, I can go ahead then in that case and bring on Andrew. Thank you all so much for being here. How's it going?
It's going good. How are you?
Doing great. So yeah, let everybody know where you're going to be, because there's going to be a lot of people. I think last time what confused a lot of people in our part of the world is we automatically headed for the bigger cities because we didn't think stuff was going on in the smaller ones. So let us know what's going on in London.
Yeah, so we will be meeting from 3 to 6 Eastern time in front of the Laurel County Courthouse in London. That's where we'll be actually on the public sidewalk there protesting.
Cool. And you, like I was saying to Aria, you all have really been putting in the hard work and getting out there in these small towns. And as you went along, how have you seen the crowds grow? Have they grown? And what's it like talking to the people on the ground?
Yeah, so we have noticed a lot of growth. Like Aria said, London was one of our biggest protests so far. And I feel like tomorrow is going to be even bigger. we have seen so many people grow with us as KWOG Resist grows. The more that we do, the more people that we get. And so I'm just excited to see all the people out there and see how everything goes. I'm really excited.
I will also say that we have officially partnered with the Pride of London, which they host. It's another organization in London, Kentucky. They actually host Pride events there, and so we're partnering with them with this one. We have one of the leaders there with Pride of London who is coming with us there. She's giving a speech. So yeah, we're really excited about that. We can see it growing, coming together with different organizations all around Kentucky.
That's so good to hear, and it means a lot to me. Like I said, growing up there, I've always thought for years that people could come together there, and there would be groups raised up. I know a lot of times, people I think thought a lot of us was wishful thinkers because sometimes it is so red that it's kind of hard to see past it. But I think that as bad as I hate to be the one to say this, we kind of told them so, and a lot of the things that we tried to warn people about are coming true, and more people are starting to get affected by this presidency. And I think that, I saw a clip from Tim from the Bulwark, and he was talking about how that, a lot of people might have voted for Trump for one or two reasons, or maybe they weren't paying as much attention. But now that it's all in their face and they're having to see it right up front, they're all of a sudden going, wait a minute, I don't want to be one of the bad guys.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that more and more people are starting to wake up and realize is they're with the bad guys now.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of one of the main people in the MAGA base that I never thought would actually speak out is now speaking out, and that would be Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yeah.
Although I think definitely has her reasons for it. I know she's seeking re-election. I think there's a little bit of different reasons why she's now speaking out for what she's speaking out for. But it was very unexpected. She was definitely the last person I would ever expect to go against Trump in any way. So seeing that is like really spun my head around just seeing that happening.
Yeah, and I can totally understand the argument, and I've said this in my videos about it. I think that she, a lot of people will call her dumb, but I think she's very cunning, and I think she's very strategic, and I think she's looking ahead to realize that, what, this ship is going to sink, and I got to save myself.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just weird because, if someone tuned in and had never heard her before, and you heard her talking, you'd think she was coming to one of our protests.
Yeah.
So and I've seen a lot of influencers, people that I really wouldn't expect to see have a problem with what's going on with ICE. I think that's one of the biggest issues, and I think that's what we're going to see people come out for more tomorrow. I think that's definitely going to be one of the reasons we'll see more people turn out.
100%.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And it's there's so many. I've seen several people too that this whole thing with the Qatar military base being built. I mean, everything that Trump ran on about being America first and being there for working class people, he's abandoned that. And I remember a person who I'd consider a friend. I remember on election night, I was live right before the results came in. I kind of realized things was going south, and I wasn't sure where it was going to land. And I just said to my audience, I said, hey, y'all, I said, let's just see where it's at tomorrow, because I didn't know how long it would last, And a friend of mine reached out, and he's like, I know you're upset, Brando, but you're going to really love it when the grocery bill comes down. And here we are. So last night I put in my order for my groceries, and I looked at the bill and went, damn, it's up higher than it was. And so those people like that were thinking it's not going to be so bad, I think we're going to see more of those people out at these protests.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The sad part about that is there's a lot of people, yes, that will wake up to it, but I really fear that there's a lot that will not wake up to it. I have, for instance, where I did grow up in Red, Kentucky, I have a lot of people that I'm biologically related to that are very still, they're very much MAGA still to this day. And I've tried to warn them, hey, this is coming. We're fighting for your insurance. We're fighting for free healthcare for all because we feel like it is a human right. We are fighting for you, whether you voted for him or you didn't. We still don't want you to die. So we're trying to help you. That's our cause. And I've got a lot of criticism for that. All of us have. But, we're going to continue fighting for it regardless, even if they don't wake up to it. And there's a lot of people that I fear won't wake up to it regardless of what happens. And that to me is just terrifying.
Yeah, it truly is. And I've really thought long and hard about the ones that will never wake up. And the thing is too, there's a lot of people that don't pay attention, and then they come in at the wrong moment, and they're paying attention for the wrong reasons. This whole thing, I don't know if y'all saw the post from the young Republicans where their texts were leaked, and they were saying all of this racist, homophobic. They were talking about how they loved Hitler and all this crazy over the top stuff.
And we had like JD Vance just like lie and call them all like young kids and stuff.
Yeah, and they were like in their 30s and 40s.
Yeah.
One of them was a senator. Aria, what went through your head when you saw that in real time?
I was shocked, but like over the past few months, they've honestly been getting more open about like what they actually think. A lot of like Republicans and such. I mean, right after that, we also had some senator who had like a American flag with like a swastika in it, like the same day. It's just like it's crazy.
It truly is, and it's crazy to me. What I don't understand, to me, this is a no-brainer. This is like a layup. It's a slam dunk. It's something we should all agree on. I don't care how much you disagree about politics. I can remember growing up, and I had these two uncles who eventually kind of came around to being on the same side later in life. But back when I was younger, you had one that was hardcore on the right, one was hardcore on the left. And it was funny because my mama used to always say to them when Thanksgiving would roll around and say, listen, don't bring up politics. And then they would, and then it would be this big sparring match. But I guarantee you back then in the 80s and 90s when them two was duking it out at my Thanksgiving, if you'd have asked either one of them about Nazis, they both would have turned in unison and said, fuck the Nazis. You know what I mean? It's like, that's just something simple. And then you have the president of the United States and the vice president who can't condemn it. And what they don't realize is when they don't condemn it, it empowers it. And it makes someone say, hey, it's okay. The vice president wouldn't, they just tried to go back and point at another dude's text and say that was bad. And you'll have people on our side say, yeah, that was bad. It's like, when they don't condemn it and they don't call it out, that's what puts it over the top.
Exactly.
And it ends up giving it a voice. And it's like we might have lost Andrew there. Hopefully he makes it back.
But it definitely does just like normalize it. It's crazy to see just like how much the rhetoric has just like exploded. Mm-hmm. And we also have like, we're talking about the Nazis and like, we have anti-fascism being designated as like terrorism. Mm-hmm. It doesn't really make sense.
It truly doesn't. I keep a copy because I was done a road trip with my friend Gloria Johnson. She's a representative here in Tennessee, and we went down near Memphis to an event. And on the way, we talked a lot. And she said, what we need to do? We need to make sure that we define these words, because sometimes people think we throw around fascism just to be throwing it around, know. Yeah. And so I went ahead and wrote them down. I got the definitions laid here on my desk. And while I'm making my videos, I'll say to people that fascism is a governmental system led by a dictator having complete power, forcibly suppressing opposition and criticism, regimenting all industry, commerce, etc., and emphasizing an aggressive nationalism and often racism. So my question is, if we're anti that, then why are they pro that?
I feel like one kind of more acceptable than the latter.
It's crazy to me because you've got, and I've got the definition of authoritarian in front of me too. It's favoring strict obedience to authority, especially at the expense of personal freedom. And, we've seen so much freedom be stripped away. And then when you try to point it out to people from our part of the world, I think one of the biggest things, and we'll get Andrew back in here and hopefully everything's working cool. But one of the things that, people around here, they don't take it as seriously until it hits them. Yeah. And so when you point these things out, they'll say, he ain't going to do that. Or I don't think they'll let him do that. So how do you think we go about reaching those people? The ones that just don't, even right now, the ones that still don't think it's actually happening.
So I feel like there is honestly no way to reach them. We have tried. There's a girl that I work with who actually wanted to see the merch that I made. And I've tried so many times to tell her, like, what's going on. And I told her to go to my Facebook, and I was like, go on there and look at the merch that I've made. Well, she got on there and saw that I was against Trump and that she, like, went off. And the next day she wore a Trump shirt. And I feel like there's really nothing that you can do to tell these people. She works in healthcare, and so she knows that Medicare and Medicaid is about to be cut, and we could possibly lose our job. And she still will not listen to anything that you say. And I just honestly don't think that there is certain people that will ever wake up or listen to anything that you have to say.
You know, me and a friend of mine talks every day, and there was a time years ago, if you could go back and read our text or listen to our voice messages, where we were saying, you know, maybe we could reach people. But he and I are feeling that more and more with certain people, and I really believe that it comes down to this. For whatever reason, it's them wanting to flex, you know, and it's like they want to win a reality show or something, and they don't realize that this is real life. And going back to something Andrew said, we're fighting for them. You know, we're fighting for them too. That's what they don't realize. A lot of people don't understand. The protest tomorrow is for their First Amendment right too.
Right.
And they don't realize that once they step out of line with Donald Trump, they're going to be in the same boat. They'll be labeled Antifa just as quick as we were.
Yes. And another thing with that is, you know, we get a lot of criticism that we're, you know, just for the Democrats, we're not, you know, we hate Republicans. So, you know, we hate what the current administration is standing for. And I don't believe it is necessarily Republican values. I don't believe that Donald Trump holds true Republican values. Instead, this is something completely different. It's like it has its own party. And it's more of a cult than a political party, I believe. But we also, I feel it is very needed right now to have Democratic senators, representatives, governors, everyone to call out what is really happening. They need to stop. You know, I saw video footage of people like Hakeem Jeffries or Chuck Schumer being like, well, we hope that the Republican Party will do the right thing. We hope that Donald Trump will do the right thing. It's not going to happen. You know, we got to stop just hoping and actually get up, say something, call it out, call them what they are. They are fascists. They are basically 1930s Germany. And we have to call out what is really happening. We need Democratic people that are not going to take money from AIPAC. We need Democratic leaders that are going to actually stand up for the people and fight for what we need.
Yeah, and I really do believe that the mainstream media shoulders a lot of the blame on this because they normalize and say much of the stuff too.
Yes.
You know, there's people like us that are doing what we do, and we're calling it out. But when they platform this stuff and put it out there into the world and then act like it's just some sort of new strategy or it's some sort of new way of doing politics, it may be in this country, but it's wrong, you know, and there's so many times that I've been watching the mainstream media. One of the things I seen was Adam Mockler. I don't know if you're familiar with his work. He's with the Midas Touch Network. He went on a panel at the Kennedy Center. Chris Cuomo was, hosting it. And then you had Stephen A. Smith was there, Bill O'Reilly. I think Joe Manchin was there. And then one of Charlie Kirk's producers. And Adam basically says to him, he's like, you know, hey, can you call out can you condemn what these young Republicans said? And the dude's like, we can talk about it. And Adam's like, no, well, can you condemn it? And he's like, well, we'll talk about it. And he dodged the question. Well, what's screwed up about it is later Cuomo invites Adam on his show. And instead of bringing the dude on that dodged that question and drilling him, he says to Adam, well, you know, Midas Touch was sharing it and saying that you owned him and you put on a masterclass. Look how they capitalized and tried to make him look like a Nazi. And I'm like, no, he wouldn't deny being a Nazi. That's the story. You know, it's like so many times the mainstream media, I'm like, why didn't you? My question was, why wasn't that guy brought on your show and given one more chance to distance himself from Nazis? That I think the media has done such a terrible job. You know, during Biden's entire term, Trump always had a microphone. They let him lie like crazy with no fact checking whatsoever. They didn't, do anything. And I think it just paved the way for where we're at today.
Yeah,
Oh, exactly.
that's one main reason why I typically get my information from more independent media. I do watch Midas Touch. I also watch iHit News. Don't know if you're familiar with them, but I try to stay updated from independent people that have kind of like created, their own podcasts, their own channels, and then obviously verifying this information as well. And because I've noticed that a lot of the times the mainstream media they don't air what they need to air. They do not speak out against the really important issues that we're seeing. And I believe that's why so many people are misinformed on what's happening. A lot of people, I mean, the majority of Americans know what is happening, but there are still that select group of people that are just unaware. They have no idea what is even happening.
Yeah, my parents are both in their 70s now, and they pretty much just watch YouTube now. We don't have cable anymore.
Right.
So they're kind of an oddity in the sense that, so my mom might be talking to somebody in the family and tell them about something that's going on, and they've not heard about it. They have no clue what my mom's talking about. And it's a major thing. It's a major story, and they're like, we don't know what you're talking about. And I think, going back to what we was talking about earlier with the people not waking up, I think a lot of it does fall on the media. And then there's probably this attitude of like, well, that's just something they heard on the internet, and they write it off as not being true. And so, hopefully the more of these protests that we have, the more we'll start seeing people come out. But like I said, you all have been putting in the work and doing them on the days that weren't so big. And so tell us a little bit about, how those have went for you, and have you run it? Because a lot of people that are mainly with this one, especially worried about safety. And I know I always ask you this question, but how's it been as far as safety issues? Have you had any agitators, or has everything been peaceful?
Safety is always like our number one priority. Wait, Andrew, you finished?
Yeah. So,
my train of thought.
well, that's okay, because I typically I'm usually the organizer that's like reaching out to the police departments and everything. What we are going to do is I've heard a lot of people saying they're going to like wear masks and stuff like that as well to kind of like hide their identity. And that's okay. We fully support that as well. We personally won't be doing that, but we will have extra security there. The police department, our last protest that we had in London, we had the police department on the street, like right directly in front of the sidewalk we were protesting in. So, having the police there, it did seem to make things safer. We didn't have any like hecklers or issues like that. And also, I think that the local police departments, they get a lot of hate sometimes, but our experience with it, we haven't had any difficulties or any issues.
That's really good to hear, because, I grew up in Southeast Kentucky, and I'm right here in East Tennessee. And, a lot of people are always saying, be careful when you go out there, Brando. Be careful wherever you go. But I will say that I've not had a problem with the law enforcement or anything like that. I think there's a fear that, and rightfully so. I mean, or absolutely rightfully so. But with all due respect to law enforcement, I've never had an issue either in this part of the world. And I've been surprised, especially in the smaller towns. I've been surprised at the police standing there and letting people do it. It's the First Amendment. I don't understand. If I looked over and saw a group of MAGA protesting during Biden, I'm not even the type of person that's going to heckle them or honk the horn. I don't. It's like, you know what? You got a right to do that. Go for it. And I just think that if more of us could realize that, we'd be in a better place. But of course, here they are. I seen Mike Johnson talking about how that he's calling this. They're calling it the Hate America rally. We hate America. And it's like, no, if you talk to any of us, the things we're here to talk about is people's rights. And we're fighting for theirs too. And I just wish that they could come around to seeing that. And hopefully tomorrow we'll go off safely for everyone, and we'll see some positivity come from it.
Yes, I'm really hopeful for that too. I think that I've heard a lot about people saying that this is potentially the biggest one in modern history that may be happening, like nationwide. So I'm really excited about that, to see how everything's going to turn out.
Yeah, I think I saw like a map of like the U.S. and just like all the little dots. It was wow.
It was like almost completely covered. That was going to be protesting tomorrow.
It was even covered in some spots that I didn't know there was much cities there. I was like, damn, it's loaded. But that's what we want to see. You know, I look at it, and I've had people say to me, you know, that protesting really doesn't matter. And I've felt it at times. There's times where you feel it in your gut, like, I don't know if it's going to make a difference. But I think what it really does, more so than anything for me, is it gives you this sense of I'm not alone in this. There's other people that are seeing what I'm seeing, and every time you go back and the crowd's bigger, then you realize, you know, I'm not crazy, because we just live in a time where I don't think people on the opposite side realizes just how hard people like us have been gaslit this entire time. And I use that phrase so much I get tired of it, and I try to find another word to describe it, but there's not. They're just constantly gaslighting us and making us the enemy from within, you know. And so when you go out to these things and you see people protesting, then you realize that you're not alone, and it can also help to build communities like you all have got. You know, you've built that because you've hit the ground and got out there and put in the work. And I just want you to know that I respect the hell out of you for that, because it definitely takes guts in Southeast Kentucky. And I remember, and I'm being honest, at first some people was like, "Are they really going to do that?" And I was like, "Yeah, they're doing it, and it's working. You know, it's catching on." And so just always know that you've got a place to come talk here, and I really respect and admire what you're doing.
Thank you. Yeah. And another thing that I will also put onto that as well, or say to that, I've also been told, like, you know, protesting's not going to do any good. What's the point? You're just wasting your time, putting yourself in danger. You know, I've heard that so many times, but I'm aware that we've protested multiple times and Donald Trump is still in office. But here's the thing. We all, as Americans, we have to live up to our legacy as Americans. And what that means is, are we going to sit around and absolutely do nothing? Are we not going to call out this fascism? Are we not going to call out that this guy is so dangerous? I mean, he, of course, like you said there, calling us the enemy from within, has recently stated that he would put the American military, and has put the American military, the National Guard, on blue cities such as Chicago. That is insanity to me. I never thought in my lifetime that we would be at this point. And I do believe that protesting, making your voice heard, getting out there and not standing for it, call it out, call out the fascism, call out the genocide, call out all of the harm that these people are doing and are causing to the American people, to immigrants, to every individual, even from other countries. And, you know, if we sit back and we do absolutely nothing, our legacy dies with democracy. Yeah. And we cannot allow that to happen. We have to get out and fight.
That's well said, man. You always have a way of closing us out strong. You did that the last time. I just threw it off to you, and you hit a home run. And so I really appreciate it. Before we go, again, we're going to be in London, Kentucky tomorrow, 3 to 6. And anything to add before we wrap it up? I really appreciate y'all.
Yeah. Come out and protest with us if you're in the area.
Stand up and fight, and come out and make your voice heard. And we will have free water. We will have free chips as well. We'll have merch if anybody wants to buy merch. Some
shirts.
And so just come out and have your voices heard. Stand up and fight.
Also, please follow us as well on Facebook. We also recently got TikTok as well.
Awesome.
So I recently got that app set up for KY Resist. So give us a follow, to stay updated on different events that we're having.
Okay, so it's mainly Facebook and TikTok. That's where you can find?
Yes.
Awesome.
Or on the website as well, www.kyresist.com.
All right. Well, everybody, definitely be sure to get out there and protest and let your voices be heard and support my good friends here from KY Resist. Follow them on social media. We've got a long, hard road ahead of us, but I think as long as people like us stick together and keep pushing forward, I do believe that we can make it and make it work. So, again, thank y'all so much for being here with me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, everybody. It's always great having the folks from KY Resist. And I just want to say in closing that tomorrow when you go out, be safe and peacefully protest. You have a First Amendment right to do so. take care of yourself, and just keep pushing forward. I really believe, like Andrew said the last time, history is watching us. It's recording us. It's remembering this moment, and it's how you speak to that moment. It's how that you are remembered. And maybe not everybody has a YouTube channel, and maybe not everyone has a group, and maybe not everyone has a website. But I do believe that there will come a time when they'll look back on this point in history and they're going to study it. And I believe that, I won't live to see it probably. My grandsons or great grandsons may be watching a documentary, and they're going to pull up tweets. They're going to pull up things that people said. They're going to pull up videos that people made saying the crazy crap they said. And they're going to have to live with that forever. And so, you just got to realize that when you put yourself out into the world, history is recording you. And you just have to be mindful of that. And that's why that I always say we're on the right side of history. And I say that with all the confidence in the world. I never dreamed that I would be in a place where we would be now. I really didn't. I remember, I think back on my grandfather who fought in World War II. I think back to everything he taught me. I think back to every warning he ever gave me. And it's one of those moments where it's really hard for me to just let it roll off my shoulder and let people tell me, don't worry about it, Brando, it's going to be okay. I take that kind of shit as an insult, if I'm being honest with you. And it doesn't do any good. So if you've ever been one of those people say, don't worry, Brando, it ain't going to be too bad. Just know in the back of my mind, I was rolling my eyes and thinking you was full of shit, because it's a moment in time that we're going to be remembered for. And I've always said you can put my quotes next to Charlie Kirk's anytime in history, and I'm confident that they will be on the right side of it. I don't, I'm sorry as to what happened to the dude, but if you want to make his followers mad, just quote him. So tomorrow when you're out protesting, be safe. Take care of yourself. And like I said, just always remember that you have a First Amendment right to do so. Whenever I have guests on the show, I'm trying so hard to stay laser focused and lead the conversation that I hadn't glanced at the comment section. I did a couple of times, but I was trying to stay on top of it. And so before I go, I just want to give a shout out to our new members. I want to give a shout out to Bruce and to, I guess that's Kimmy. Also to Anna Plant, to Jim, and to Fire for Effect. I really appreciate all of you for those donations, and thank y'all so much for joining in on this episode. It's always good to have an off the cuff, hey, we're going live this afternoon. I always have fun with those. I was a person, all the years I played music, I never had a set list. I just went out there and read the room and went for it. And so, I knew, those are great people from KY Resist, and I knew that all I had to do was say, how y'all doing? And we would move the conversation forward. And so be sure to go to Facebook, follow KY Resist. That stands for Kentucky. If some of you just tuned in, they're out of Kentucky. They've really been out there putting in the work in Southeast Kentucky and taking the protest to the small towns. And they'll be in London, Kentucky from 3 to 6 this Saturday. So be sure to go out and support them if you're in that part of the world. Also, they are also on TikTok as KY Resist, and they also have a website, KY Resist. So just remember, no kings. Never thought we'd have to say that out loud, but we do. Unfortunately, we live in a world where we have to say that, and we're not going to stop saying it. It's so funny to me, though, how that no one ever stands up and says, hey, we don't want a king. That's the part that is actually the most scary of all of it. Is they never say, we don't want a king. We agree with you. They say we hate America rally or whatever the hell, but they never say, you won't hear Mike Johnson go, oh, I don't want a king either. Because Steve Bannon's trying to figure out how to get Trump on the ballot in 2028. That's the type of people that we're up against. Also want to give a huge shout out to the Vol Queen and Brian. Appreciate y'all so much. Vol Queen gifted 10 Tennessee Brando memberships. Thank you so much for that. And thank you for all of your support. So with that, folks, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the show. And like I said, just be safe out there tomorrow, wherever you go, and stand on the right side of history. And don't ever think for a second that you're not. Just, the great Ray Wiley Hubbard told me one time, he told me this in person. He said, to be a great songwriter, you have to remove all doubt. And I think that applies to all things in life. If you're going to go for something, you got to remove all doubt. So I know they're gaslighting you. I know they're beating the hell out of you. I know that you feel like you're just been put through the ringer, but stay true to it and remove all doubt. You're right about this. Don't let them tell you how to think. Don't let them tell you you're wrong for thinking. Don't let them criticize you for thinking that way. Don't let them hold a God over your head. Don't let them thump a Bible in front of you. If they do thump a Bible in front of you or thump a Constitution in front of you, to suggest to them that they read it a little bit closer. That's me on my soapbox, and I'm looking forward to No Kings tomorrow, and I'm looking forward to seeing this nation come together and stand up against this idiocracy. So until next time, I'm Tennessee Brando. I love and thank you all so much for your support, and we'll see you again next time.